Hello, and welcome to a quick update on the insolvency aspects that relate to directors when dealing with very difficult circumstances. Let me first introduce you to Ambuja Bose. She leads the Insolvency, Recovery and Restructuring team at VWV Solicitors.
Let me introduce you to Ian Robert, who heads up the Insolvency and Restructuring team at Moore Kingston Smith. There's been a lot of changes to insolvency law in the past few months, but one of the most recent ones that I've been looking at is the reintroduction of what I'm going to call Crown Preference, which came into force earlier in December. As I see it, what this means is that HM Revenue and Customs will now take priority in an insolvency situation over the vast majority of VAT, PAYE debt, etc., which an insolvent company might have. And this will put HMRC in a preferential position compared to other unsecured creditors and elevates HMRC's status. Do you think this will impact on the insolvency advice you will be giving to directors going forward?
Well, it's a major change in legislation, and actually it's bringing insolvency legislation back to something similar that was the case almost 20 years ago. What it's doing is it's promoting, as Ambuja says, HMRC in front of your normal trade suppliers, in front of the landlord, in front of a bank who have a floating charge over your sort of movable assets. So, you know, that is, as a director, going to cause you great concern, because when you are looking at trying to restructure your business, you're going to suddenly find that it's going to be much harder to get restructuring finance. It's going to be harder to work out a solution, because HMRC are going to say, well, I want my money first from any formal insolvency. And that includes a company voluntary arrangement, which I believe, you know, has been very prominent in the retail market for trying to deal with landlords and rental properties that are not making profits. If a CVA requires HMRC to get paid first, that's going to be a problem, because the funds have to be there for them to vote in favour of it. And as CVA rules are at the moment, you can't prejudice preferential creditors. So it requires HMRC to approve this, and unless there's 100 pence in the pound payable to HMRC, and we believe they're holding companies to that now. This has only come in from the 1st of December, so we don't have a lot to guide us. But it's going to be a real problem for restructuring, refinancing, and particularly for CVAs. What I would say is that it actually goes further than the preferential creditors position that they had some 20 years ago, because in practical terms now, HMRC are having priority for all their VAT, all their PAYE, all IR35 debt in the construction industry, and you know, any other smaller preferential creditors that they would have. It's only for debt that they collect on behalf of that gets forwarded on. So in terms of corporation tax, they don't have a preferential entitlement to that. But you know, it's going to be, I think, a big problem. I'm not sure it's in HMRC's interest either, because I think a lot of businesses will fail as a result of this, and therefore they'll find their tax take will go down overall. So it's a very short-term move, but all the same, a big issue.
Do you think that landlords in particular might find that they'll be less likely to vote in favour of a CVA if any lump sum payment into a CVA will predominantly go to HMRC? Do you have a view on that at all?
Well, I mean, generally, landlords are split in a CVA into the bad ones and the good ones, i.e. the good properties and the bad properties. And the bad ones normally vote against the CVA, and their vote is quite small, so it doesn't matter, and the CVA still goes ahead with their vote or without it. And the good property landlords, they would often vote in favour because they're being looked after by the CVA. I'm not sure now even the good landlords will be very happy, because it will reduce their take, or the company would have to find more funds to ensure that the landlords do vote in favour in order for the CVA to go through. So time will tell. You know, we're only on the sort of middle of December, and this all came in on the 1st of December. So in practice, not one CVA has been offered to creditors under the new guidance, under the new legislation to date. So you know, time will tell.
So in your view, do you think that administrations potentially with a pre-pack restructuring coming out of it, do you think that's more likely to be something?
Definitely back on the table. It was always considered, in my view, a better solution anyway than the CVA. I'm not always convinced that CVAs work, and in fact, when you look at retail CVAs, a lot of them start in the CVA and they end up failing. So I'm not sure it's necessarily the most useful tool. Administration is a clean break and a new start for a new company taking over the business, and they can take over the properties that they want and leave the properties behind that they don't want. And that, so with the right funding, is a better solution.
So there's still the need for negotiation with landlords, but you're only negotiating with one set of creditors rather than a vast array of creditors.
Yeah, that's probably the case. Again, you know, every company insolvency is a bespoke problem, and that's why it's absolutely critical that you seek insolvency advice, either from an insolvency lawyer or an insolvency practitioner. By all means, first go to your accountant. You know, we're happy to speak to people off the record, even just to give them some guidance. We're here to try and help the community, and you know, to us, there is such a huge array of different options, and it very much depends on the bespoke circumstances for each business's problems. So, you know, I can't give an answer to what you should do or what you shouldn't do, because it won't be right and relevant in all scenarios.
I think that's really important for directors to know that there are options out there, but which option is the best for you, you'll only know after careful consideration and consultation with professional advisors.
Right, well, thank you for listening to us. I hope that was helpful, and of course, if you want to pick up the phone to either myself or to Ambuja,